feels so abstract. Yeah, it's complicated. What you say, the way you act, well, it makes me so confused. I don't know what to do anymore. Can't you just make up your mind? My heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there's a fight when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. Oh, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. How it hurts to see you smile, like a dagger hit me. She just seems so juvenile. I just want it to be me. I wanna set your world on fire. Oh, just so sure I'll stick around. Oh, my heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there's a fight when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. Oh, even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be.
Hi, everyone. It's Jess from Jess Crafts. You can find me at jesscrafts.com or Jess Crafts here on YouTube. And I, at the summit, made some paper busting cards. So you got a free template that showed you how to cut your paper. And then we made some paper busting cards. You might recognize this pattern paper. That's the pattern paper that we used. And so I couldn't find my actual cards. I found the second set that I made, but here is the paper so you can remember what my project is. And what I love to do is cut patterned paper and make cards without pattern paper scraps because I love pattern paper. It's so pretty, but I know that I would get intimidated by like, well, what do I do with the rest of it? When I, made a card, I saw a sketch online. I was like, this is super cute. I'm going to make this card. And then I had all these scraps and how do you sort them, organize them? And I was done organizing them. So I just decided I'll use the whole piece of paper and then I won't have to organize them. So that's what inspired me to do this. And I've just been trying to share it with as many people. So I'm happy that I was able to share it with some of you here at the Card Maker Success Summit. So how did I get started making card sketches? Like I said, I just was like done with the scraps. So I decided that I would figure out, could I cut some pattern paper such that I could make one or two, or, it started with usually two because it did start with 6x6 paper. When I found 6x6 paper, I liked that as a card maker because the scale's usually better than a 12x12 piece of paper. And so I was like, okay, if I cut this in half, that's too long for a card. So now I need to cut it into some smaller chunks. And so the first couple was kind of like, what if I cut a piece of paper in half and then I cut those halves into smaller things and arranged it on a card? Could I make something that looks cute? And then I figured out how to use some like a program to make it into a card sketch so I could share it with others. I have been doing a lot of like times where like I sat down with a 6x6 pad and tried to use it all up and tried to use the scraps, but coming up with the card sketches and the templates where I specifically say, "Hey, cut here," that kind of thing. That to me was I felt like that was more helpful to others because when I was just using up a paper pad, I was kind of coming up with random measurements and it was hard to follow along. And people were asking about sketches and that kind of thing. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to figure this template thing out because now when I go to a craft, I can just pull out. I have 3 binders. And I think there's actually one more worth of templates. Like, so they're just full. And so anytime like, okay, I want to use this 8x8 piece of paper, I just go into my binder and I flip through till I find something and I'm never at a loss anymore. I have as much 8.5 by 11 pattern papers. I do 12 by 12. Can I use them? I do have 8.5 by 11 pattern paper, or sorry, paper busting templates on jesscrafts.com. So if you go to jesscrafts.com, at the top, my templates are sorted by paper size and by card size. So if you have a certain size of pattern paper you like, then you can go to that section. 8.5 by 11, there's not many. I got to be honest with that, but there are a few, and I will continue to develop them. It's hard because, like I said, I started with 6x6, and then I was like, okay, what's the next size? I was getting a lot of 6x8 because they're smaller, and so I've just sort of slowly been expanding. 12 by 12 has been pretty popular, so that's what I've been focusing on lately. But um, I see that it sounds like I'm blurry, but it doesn't look blurry on my end, but I do see that on YouTube it does. So I don't know what's going on there. Sorry about that, guys. What do I enjoy most about crafting in general? Um, the fact that it lets me do something I love but also give back to others. So what I do is when I make cards, most of them get donated. A lot of them, I certainly send to family and friends, that kind of thing. But you can only send so many cards. We all only know so many people. They can only, but I years and years ago when I first started card making, I used to send cards to Operation Right Home, which was run by Sandy Allnock and has since um, no longer as an organization. But um, when they when I realized that they were, going away, I started looking at other places to donate your cards. And so I started a list on my website. So at jesscrafts.com, you go and there's a site where I think it says where to donate your cards. And it will give you a list of organizations. I'm not affiliated with any of them. I'm not directly involved. It's just places I've found that you can donate your cards. And so I regularly get up a box together and donate them. And I share organizations that accept handmade cards. I have tried to find international organizations as well. In addition to that, I do have jokes at jesscrafts.com because the dilemma I ran into is Operation Right Home, you sent them blank cards and then the soldiers would receive the cards, or there's a more general term, like the servicemen would receive the cards, servicemen and women, and they would write their message. But some organizations want there to be a message inside the card. And I was like, oh, I wasn't always sure what to write. So I started collecting jokes, and I've made them into like printable format. So these aren't like my original jokes or anything like that, but you can print them off and include them inside your cards. And so, yeah, just being able to like give the thing that like I have fun making it, and then I can pass it on and make someone else happy with it. I also cross stitch. So if you can see behind me there, that's one of my pieces that I've cross stitched. And then there's another one. So I do also do the secondary craft of cross stitching because I find it to be a little bit more portable. I'm not very good at like, crafting on a long car trip or even while watching TV. Sometimes like there's certain things I can do like in color, that kind of thing. But basically I just have a second craft. How'd you get started with card crafting and how long have you had this obsession? I started with scrapbooking when I was a teenager. So that was like almost 20 years ago. And I think, like, I realized I could only scrapbook so many things, and so I couldn't like, sometimes I'd be like, "I wanna do something crafty," but I've scrapbooked everything I wanted to scrapbook or something like that, so, um and I used to follow so if you remember Paper Crafters Magazine is what I think it was called, and then there was, Kathy ran the Moxie Fab blog. I think that's what again, I'm trying to remember, this is a long time ago, and I used to follow that. And one day she was, like doing like a feature spotlight thing, and she had featured Lawn Fawn when they first came out. So been crafting for a long time. And when they first, like their first set of stamps released, and I was like, oh, I need those. Like, I wanna, what's this stamping thing? Because I'd only seen like rubber stamps up to that point, and some of them just weren't my style or whatever. But when I saw the first Lawn Fawn stamps, I was like, "This is it." And I still have some of those stamps. Critters in the Burbs, I think, was one of the first ones that they released, and I used that, like, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, and then I was like, "Okay, well, this lets me craft without, like, having to have an event to scrapbook," and then, like I said, I could donate them because I found Operation Right Home at that same time and all that. Love the idea of using scrapbook paper packs for quick and easy cards. Wouldn't it be great for the Cards for Cubs program? Absolutely. I will check after this if Cards for Cubs is on my website list, but there's probably 10 or 15 other organizations, and like scrapbook.com runs their Cards for Kindness program, and so yeah, I think that it's perfect for Cards for Cubs. It's perfect for any place that you want to donate cards to. I also encourage you to just like, you can call a local retirement community because they might not even know that this is a possibility that they could get cards for their residents or something like that. And then those people who got the VIP pass, they got card inserts. So in addition to jokes, which are free on jesscrafts.com, I have these card inserts that like you can print them out, cut them apart, and then it's like a word search or like tic-tac-toe board or a coloring matching activity, all kinds of stuff. So there's these like the kind of stuff you'd find in like a kid's coloring book. So they are really well suited to kids, Cards for Cubs. And so you could print those out and stick it in there, and then the kids have like a little activity to do. So they receive your card, they get a little activity, maybe you include the joke, and you make this whole thing. So the VIP members got like holiday and seasonal themed things to put inside their cards. So perfect for Cards for Cubs. And then if you weren't VIP, you could get them in my Etsy shop. What is your favorite tool for card making? Oh wow. So I'm like so simple with my card making. Cuz like I saw somebody say something like I don't have a lot of tools yet. And I was like, selfishly, but like you should watch my presentation because I use like a paper trimmer and some tape. Like I can be very, very simple in my card making, but ultimately I guess I'd have to say my die cutting machine because I do a lot of die cutting. Like this is the second version of my cards and I did die cut the words and the sentiments, but for the first version, I tried to keep it a little more simple just so everyone could feel really encouraged. Because I think you can do a lot with just a paper trimmer and adhesive and pattern paper. So I don't really have a very interesting favorite tool. I'm newer to card making. I look at a huge piece of paper and get frustrated not knowing how to cut it. Any suggestions? I mean, definitely download the free one from the presentation. And then go to jesscrafts.com where there's over 100 other free templates. Like I said, I have binders full of them. So here's, 12 by 12 and A2, and it's just jam packed with like, you can make them with slimline cards, A2 size cards. Then I have them for 6 by 6 and 8 by 8 or 6 by 8 and 8 by 8. And then this binder is literally just 6 by 6. I had so many 6 by 6 templates. I had to give it its own binder recently. So they, not only is it 6 by 6 paper, but it's 6 by 6 paper for A2 cards, for 5 by 7 cards, for slimline cards, for 6 by 6 cards. And so if you want to use your stacks of pattern paper, just start downloading some templates, see what you like. you do when you get the templates, they are free, but you do have to like enter your email address. And so I know some people are like, oh, that's a lot for 100 templates. So I did start making them available in my Etsy shop. So Jess Crafts shop on Etsy. And you can, instead of, entering your email over and over, you could just, purchase a pack, and VIP members got an exclusive coupon code. So they can use that if they want for any of the various options. I love this presentation. I'm finally using beautiful package papers that I was saving for scrapbooking. Do a lot of people complain that this design is too simple? Um, I think that people who think my designs are too simple probably just move on and go watch somebody who does like fun techniques and stuff. Um, but people in the crafty world are generally very kind. And so I think that most of us will just say, oh, this kind of technique is not for me, and move on. Like, I do not like die cutting like I said, but die cutting had to be my favorite because I use die cutting. But like when you do like die cutting with all those like teeny tiny little bits, like, oh, the teeny tiny eyes you have to glue on and the little detail, I don't really like that. So if somebody's doing that in a video, it's probably not a video for me, and then I just move on. And so I think that people who think my designs are too simple probably do too. How did you get over the fear of making a mistake in your card making? Um, so I used to be a teacher, like an elementary school teacher, and you're just live all day, every day, and you make mistakes. And the thing about young children is they will tell you that you made a mistake too, and they're not in a mean way or anything, but they're just very honest people. So like I just like, when I was a teacher and ever, I was just constantly on and making, errors happen, and you have to accept your humanity. And that kind of thing. So that probably desensitized me a little bit, the honesty of young children. Um, and but yeah, I don't know. I don't A lot of times you can fix it anyway, you can cover it up, all that kind of stuff. So practice is another thing. How do you come up with your templates? Um, It's I do definitely, like, look around at inspiration, and I'll see a card and I'm like, "That's cute. I wonder if, like, if I adjusted some measurements or something, could I," like, as, like, a sort of starting off point. So I'm never, like, copying someone's design, but I'm just like, "Oh, this design has, like, this large element with some smaller things. Could I mimic that?" And sometimes it's literally like I think it's partly because, again, I've there's over 100 at this point. My brain has started, like, being able to kind of think about pulling the paper apart, or, like, I know if I'm gonna be working on a 6 by 6 template, a 3-inch measurement's probably gonna happen a lot, because if I cut a 6 by 6 in half, then I'm gonna get 3 inches wide to work with, and so I kind of just start, like, seeing the squares and rectangles in my head at this point and thinking about how they would fit back together. But um, I'm sorry I don't have a much better answer than that. It's just more like, enough messing around and your brain starts getting into it, looking at different card sketches and that kind of thing. Your presentation was very helpful. I'm so glad to hear that. How did you start mass producing? Again, because I wanted to donate my cards. So being able to donate to Operation Right Home, I wanted to be able to give them a lot of good quality cards. And so, while some of my cards are really, really simple, I will also like Copic color images for them and that kind of thing, and, make them a little bit more special. But if I've already come up with a design, doing 6 more of it, they can use it in various ways. They can give it to different people and that kind of thing. So I figure it's why waste all that time that I did thinking of the card, and why not make a few more for the organizations to use? Do you have any suggestions for the 4.5 by 6.5 adhesive paper packs? I might have templates for that size. Um, because there was an odd size that I did. Yep, I have 6.5 by 4.5 inch templates that make for A2 size cards. So go to jesscrafts.com and pick up some templates for them. There's only maybe 4 or 5 of them, but it's a place to get started. And you can also, um, sometimes you can still use a template. Like I'll say, I'll still look at a sketch for a different size and use that as inspiration. And then I can make a card with scraps or something. But there's a few to get you started there for sure. Card size are most sketches for? A2. A2 is the most popular size. I did some 5x7s. People like them, but they don't get quite as many views as A2. And so same thing for slimline. So I do have slimline, I have mini slimline, I have 5x7, but um vast majority are A2 because that's what people are responding to. Now we can send 2 cards for Cubs for what we learned about yesterday. Oh yeah, because it Cards for Cubs, I think like Barely Art was one of the sponsors, and so now hopefully you guys have lots of ideas. Are you continuing with the games you've created for kids' cards? So I if you're talking about like the card inserts that I mentioned before, I had one for each season, like a set for each season, and then I have them for most holidays. But and then I have some just, like, random ones too, like, I have, like, I call it fantasy themed because it's, like, kinda like princesses kinda stuff. I don't have any, like, super clear ideas at this moment for new ones. I was thinking, like, maybe I should do a St. Patrick's Day one, but so many people just I mean, they don't send cards for that. So I was like, do I go forward with holidays or do I go forward with, just sort of like I have a farm themed one, I have a birthday themed one, that kinda thing. So if you guys have any suggestions, please share them. I will definitely go back and well, I guess I don't know if I can go read all of these, the comments that happened during the live, but if I can, I certainly will take suggestions. Where do you find your paper pads? At this point, I honestly do most of my shopping online. I go to scrapbook.com a lot because they also have their exclusive paper pads, but I do make a point to go to big box stores and get some of my paper pads like Michael's or Joann's, just because I know for some people that's where they go. And I want to make sure that I am making cards that are like I'm using materials that are most helpful to everyone, but I also will go online and purchase pads that I know are made in like Australia or England or something so that I know I can also help some international audience members as well. All right. So I have had so much fun. I'm so glad that I could answer some of your questions. Like I said, I'll go and see if there's some more questions or answers. I want to chat with you in the Facebook group too. So feel free to pop over there and leave your questions. I'll be checking them. And you can find me at jesscrafts.com, which I know I've said a few times here. But also, please come see me on my Jess Crafts YouTube channel so you can get more ideas like you found here at the summit. I would love to have you. And thanks so much. Bye, everyone.